And we're live. We are live. Let me just do some navigation. See what I can do in this live. In a minute. It's your boy, Dane. Subscribe to Dane's World. You know what it is. Use this live stream. Let's see what's going on. Restrictions done now. In a minute. We're going to tap in a minute. We're going to tap in a minute. Okay, there we go. There we go. Just adjusting some settings real quick. Let me share this to YouTube or to Facebook real quick. And then we're going to get started. NBA playoffs, what we talking about? NBA playoffs, what we talking about? First round, if you didn't see, first round was a doozy in Dame's opinion. I feel like entertainment came from different angles. So, in Dame's World, we're going to break down each series and what it did in Dame's World, what it did for Dame's World through the exciting series and the not so much exciting series, the lackluster series. And then also from that, we're going to break down our predictions for next round. For the next series, the second round, which already had begun. But let's start off with the first round. Clippers, Mavericks. The whole time, I was entertained. Shout out to the superstar power in the Clippers versus the Mavericks. You talk about Luka Doncic and you talk about Kawhi Leonard. Both of them played at a high magnitude. Luka Doncic giving you, of course we know the stats, 35 and 10, but showing you that intangible nature that I told niggas that he been had when it comes to this playoff atmosphere, when it comes to these big moments. You got some players who are great regular season, but then in the playoffs, in the season in which it matters, they dwindle or they shy away from the moment. Luka has shown you in every playoffs in which he's been that he only ascends his game in these moments. Surprisingly, against the Clippers back-to-back years, he's torched all of their wings. And their wings consist of the wings in which I thought were the best wings in the game. You feel me? After Wingstop, the best wings is Kawhi and PG, I thought. You feel me? You got PG, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, who's a stout defender. Reggie Jackson couldn't even really play this series. Neither could Patrick Beverly because Luka was so goddamn big and forceful and dominant in his attack to the rim. Jumper was falling. Step back was going fucking crazy and nuts. And in the meantime, all the while Luka's doing this, all the while Luka's doing this on the offensive end, you got Kawhi Leonard tearing them motherfuckers up on the other end. Shout out to PG for showing up in critical moments in the fourth quarter of Game 6 and Game 7, playing his role much better. But in this series, you can see clearly it's levels. And the levels in which I'm talking about was Kawhi and Luka. If I had to put who's at the top of that level, be it that you see Kawhi guarding Luka, given that obligation, given that burden. And on the other end, you don't see Luka given that burden. Granted, he's not a great defensive player. Luka's not a terrible defensive player. He takes pride. He's not a great defensive player. So given that, I had Kawhi edging that matchup, even though Luka was dominant. And if I could segue, he was so dominant opposed to Kawhi's dominance. Kawhi gets his spots. Kawhi's a systematic type player. Offense gets ran. He gets to a certain spot. You call his number down at the low block, pinch post type deal. Luka gets the ball every play. Pick and roll every play. So I need basketball heads to realize this, if you are basketball heads, because the basketball heads already realize this. When a player or a team inherits that style of play with the player, it does two things. First thing it does is inflates their stats to the roof. Points, rebounds, and assists go up. Even rebounds go up because you know you're going to give him the ball. So sometimes the big be like, fuck it, just let him get the board. He finna set the offense and start it up anyway. So you're going to see inflated numbers. You're going to see three things. Inflated numbers from a superstar. Lack of variation from role players. Lack of variation from role players. And then you're going to see a losing effort. A one-man band will never win a championship. I have yet to see it. Two-man band, maybe. Three-man, you Gucci. One-man band, pick and roll, isolate throughout the whole game. We're never going to see that win a championship, in my opinion, in Dame's world. So with the Dallas Mavericks versus the Clippers, all we saw was Luka being a one-man band. Tim Hardaway is a creator. He can create space on his own. He can drive and kick. He can get a bucket. But when he's reduced to jump shooting, Kristaps Porzingis reduced to jump shooting, Jalen Brunson reduced to jump shooting, it becomes fairly easy to guard, and it also reduces them. Wow, it gives Luka 35, 10, and 12. Wow, it does not put Dallas Mavericks over that hump. They're going to need to revamp. They need a couple more pieces, in my opinion, and then they need a new strategy. That strategy of pick and roll Luka 10,000 times or isolate Luka at the top 10,000 times until you drive and dish or find success, that's cool to inflate the numbers. So it might be great for – it's not great for Luka because you can tell Luka wants to win. You can tell Luka wants to win. So that strategy is not great for Luka. It's great for the stat nerds who favor Luka and can run and revert to the stats to support their argument. But for Luka personally, he probably knows it's not going to equal success playing like this. So be it that you have that, the Clippers won that first round. Shout out to Luka. Shout out to Kawhi again for giving us a crazy-ass first round. Probably my favorite first round. The only first round that went 7 games, if I'm not mistaken. I think Dames might have went 7 too. Two first rounds that went 7. And consequently, that's my next round I got to talk about. The Nuggets versus the motherfucking Blazers. The Nuggets versus the motherfucking Blazers. If anybody was the most spectacular, most eye-popping, riveting basketball player of this playoffs in Dame's world, it would have to be Dame Lillard. When you talk about, and this is something that's why I love that eye test shit that I created. Some things just meet the eyes. It's not just statistics. When we saw Dame drop that 55, hit them 2 game winners in the fashion in which he did it, you got captivated out of your seat. You got put in a feeling of disbelief. So when it comes to the most outstanding player of this playoffs, the most eye-popping player, even though he got eliminated in the first round, Damian Lillard hopped in his Kobe mode. So in that series, even though shout out to Joker and Michael Porter Jr., Michael Porter Jr. was giving buckets consistently. Joker, we know it's going to be Joker. CJ McCullough, I feel like didn't perform to that level in which Dame Lillard needed him to perform. Melo had a decent series for the third option, but it simply wasn't enough for MPJ, Joker, and that system that the Nuggets run. They have a nice system founded around Joker opposed to Dame Lillard's system founded around him. He got the best. Jazz Grizzlies, the two most disinteresting series for me. Jazz Grizzlies. Donovan Mitchell sat out game 1, and Grizzlies won that. But after that, you just saw Utah Jazz obliterate them 4 straight games. Shout out to Ja Morant, but they're going to need more tools to improve themselves. And Jazz are already fine-tuned for who they are. So that series, wash. Lakers, Suns. Lakers, Suns. Cali native, so I know Cali motherfuckers is in this stream watching. Lakers looked terrible all year. Now, that's from my observation. If y'all watch the Lakers, I don't know y'all level of discernment, but you're seeing injuries up and down. You're seeing inconsistent basketball. And you've seen a team that, in which I knew from the jump, wasn't going to win a championship. Granted, again, they played later than everybody. Them and the Heat both got ousted in the first round. And ironically, they were the people in the finals who had to play basketball for the longest last year. So we can make that, we can put that causation to what happened. But what happened, happened. Lakers got their ass whooped. Lakers looked sorry. AD looked banged up and bruised. LeBron James looked old. Dennis Schroeder didn't perform like he was supposed to perform. Marc Gasol looks aging, which he looked last year versus the Raptors, but Lakers gave him a shot. And then you saw the Suns just be the Suns of who they were all year. I don't know if people are familiar with Devin Booker, but in case you didn't know, he's a bucket getter, a glorified bucket getter. CP, Aiden, and the role players, their wings, Bridges, running that team, or that's a well-oiled machine, as is the Jazz. Those are the two teams who are already, they've already identified with themselves. Whether or not they have the skill to match their identity is, you feel me, to be answered in these next few rounds. And now we go East. I think the West, Clippers, Mavs, Nuggets, Blazers, great series. The East also had one great series, in my opinion. Well, as far as competitive-wise, there was no great series. But as far as entertainment-wise, New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks was a pretty decent series, if I must say. Mainly because of the point guard play between Trigger Trae Young and Shiraki Derrick Rose. The first 3-4 games, they were going at it until game 5, in which Derrick Rose, his tires ran out, you feel me? But in this series, you got a high-intensity Madison Square Garden feel, which was nice to have, post-COVID type shit. But what we got most importantly was playoff Trae Young. And what we've learned from playoff Trae Young is that he got that killer instinct too. He's not finna back down. He may be 5'8" in height, but he's 7 foot in heart, which is what matters. And then what I also seen is, in this new era where you can't get up physically and touch a guard and fight the pick how you want to, Trae Young run a pick and roll with his ball handle, with his shot selection, with his floater. He's somebody that is unguardable in his league. So anybody going up against the Hawks is going to have a headache dealing with Trae Young. I call him Baby Chef with less of a shot and more of a handle. Baby Chef with less of a shot and more of a handle. Trigger Trae Young. Trae Young's handle, he's more elusive than Chef, in my opinion. But his shot is not as, nobody's shot is as efficient as Chef. Come on now. We know this. And then on New York Knicks side, you had Derrick Rose being the best player for the New York Knicks at 32 for reconstructive knee surgeries. So if that's your best player in the playoff, and what you know, I'm a Derrick Rose fan. Shout out to Derrick Rose. Man, that nigga nice. But if that's the best player that you guys have, you guys don't stand a chance in the playoffs in 2021. We know Julius Randle was their best player all year, but in the playoff, it's a different story. In the playoff, he was forceful, 24/7, shooting up ignorant shots, not knowing how to react to the double team. Whereas Derrick Rose is somebody who's been there before, somebody who knows this atmosphere, which is what I try to tell niggas. Regular season is cool, but you breathe in a different air when you're in the playoffs. Literally, it feels different. Anybody who plays sports can relate. That high intensity level, it's like the thought translates to the surface in regards to what it means to the people, what this moment means. So that feeling, that pressure, and that energy in the building is just different. Some people shy away from it, some people run to it. Julius Randle wasn't ready for that energy. Hopefully next year he could be ready, and hopefully the Knicks get another piece or even two pieces to complement what they had. But shout out to the Knicks for their run. They had a great season. Quickly, all them young boys, I fuck with the Knicks. You feel me, to say the least. And before we go on, we got a comment. That's disrespectful to Steph's handle. Duff says that's disrespectful to Chef. And this is what we want in Dame's world. We want comments and we want a community, a dialogue, so we can expand not only Dame's mind, but the collective of minds in which are watching this. You feel me? Dame don't got all the answers. Even though he got this beanie and he look like Sway. He got the Sway swag. He don't have all the answers. You feel me? But it's I don't believe it's disrespectful to Chef's handles because Chef has a great handle. Don't get it twisted. Like, Chef has a great handle, and I wouldn't even say Trigger Trey has definitively more handles than Steph, but I will say he's more elusive off the dribble than Chef. Chef is more deceptive, really off that pump fake, that show and go nature. He got a couple between the leg, behind the back, but he's not getting much separation. You're going to see Chef finish with a step back to operate or to complete his bucket, whereas Trey, he's shifting niggas. Left and right, shifting niggas, floater. Chef, don't get it twisted. You got a good point, Duff. Chef handles is out of this world. So he shift niggas as well. I just prefer Trey's handles a little bit more evasive. Baby Chef with better handles and less shy. But I hear you, Duff. I hear you, my nigga. And then we got, moving on to the other Eastern series, Heat Bucks. Another scandal. What I mean by that is that's not a series for us to watch. That's not a series that the consumer is going to enjoy. 4-0 sweep. Again, another team that went to the finals in that bubble year that was probably ill prepared for this year. Sixers, Wizards. This was interesting. Just to see, you already knew what was going to happen. You knew the Wizards wasn't winning shit. But you wanted to see Russ and Beal, two high-caliber players, perform and possibly topple the Wizards over the Sixers, or at least give the Sixers a run. They did one game, but they got washed the rest of the games. From my observation, Russell Westbrook is getting older, former superstar, now time to time superstar, and given that was the Wizards' best option, I think Bradley Beal is a star, like all-star, minimal all-star level, not a high-level, high-tier all-star. So in the playoffs, in this magnitude, Bradley Beal is not going to show you superstar power, and Russell Westbrook is going to give it to you incrementally, which we got in Game 4, I believe, right? Sixers too much for them. Joel Embiid too much for them. Tobias too much for them. Even Ben was too much for them. In spite of Hacker Ben, which worked in the only game in which they won, which is something we're going to talk about next series. So you have that series. Then you have Brooklyn versus the Celtics, a series that if they had Jaylen Brown, I think would have been more interesting. But they didn't. So we already knew it was going to happen. Jason Tatum is going to try his hardest. Marcus Smart, they're going to give their effort, but they're just simply not enough. Kyrie was Kyrie. KD was KD. And Harden was Harden. All three of them were clicking. Joe Harris hitting his shots. Brooklyn is in that form, pushing for what they were pushing for since the beginning of the year. We got a mission to win a chip, nothing else. All that regular season shit stops. Now we playing with our intentionality. So you saw a 4-1, barring Jason Tatum's 50-point obliteration. You feel me? And then that finishes the first round. And then we move on to the second round. Before we talk about our top performers in Dame's world, I got a list of hitters. A lot of people came and showed out in the playoffs. I got a list of hitters. But we start off with the second round, the games that have already started. Hawks versus Sixers. Hawks versus Sixers. Hawks up 1-0 in a thriller. trigger trade. Still an unsolvable algorithm for the NBA teams. Ben Simmons. Hack a Ben. I need my Ben Simmons fans to step up right now to talk to your boy. Holla at me, I'm here. I know he got good defense. I know he can play make. But when basketball was created, the first thing they made was a hoop and a ball. And the mission was to put that ball in the hoop. So if you're going to categorize yourself as an elite level, all-star caliber type player, eventually you have to be efficient or effective at the premise of basketball, which is getting a hoop and a bucket. I'm not talking about a fast break dunk. I'm not talking about an uncontested layup. I'm not talking about a diving slash to the rack. I'm talking about if Ben Simmons is the second best player on this team, like niggas is a legend he is, he's going to have to make free throws and not be 4 for 16 and not do hack a Ben. The first time in my life I seen hack a Ben, hack a point guard. The first time in Dame's world. Unacceptable. Because in crucial moments, like we seen with the Wizards only win, and like we seen with Game 1 with the Hawks, in crucial moments, he's legitimately a liability. Can't score on offense when it's running, and we can stop the clock and hack him to prevent the clock from going down, and they won't get no points because he can't shoot free throws. He's shooting like 40% in the playoffs, I want to say, and 0 from 3, so he can't stretch the floor. Sixers will only go as far as Ben Simmons in Dame's world, and in my opinion, we're going to see them lose because of Ben Simmons, in my opinion. Oh, that's very true. That's true, though. Good point. That's a fact. Hacker Rondo was in effect, too. But Rondo shot a little bit better than Benji. Rondo shot the ball a little bit. I think Rondo's problem was he had big-ass hands, literally, and that motherfucker probably felt like a tennis ball to him. So, consequently, he wasn't really that good of a free throw shooter. But Rondo's free throws, I don't know, we could, you feel me, review this in Dame's world. I'm assuming it was better than Benji's. And his 3-ball for sure was better than Benji's. Jumper for sure. Benji, out of all the all-star guards I've ever seen, that's the worst shot in history. But yeah, nonetheless, hack a Ben against this Hawks team that's already tough to guard, that's already young, energetic. They got a nice vibe in Atlanta. And if the Sixers, we know Joel Embiid is going to be dominant. We know nobody can stop him. We know Tobias Harris is going to get his buckets. My only cause for concern for the Sixers in this series is Ben Simmons. And even with that being said, I think they still might eclipse the Hawks. But that's as far as it's going to go. And as I transition to Clippers versus the Jazz, that's going to be a good series. I haven't really put too much thought to that one. But now that I am putting thought to that one, I think that's going to be a nice, gritty, good series. One team is, I guess you can say, more star favorite with Kawhi and PG. But on the other end, you got the Utah Jazz, which is, like I said, a well-oiled machine. So, in my opinion, I think this is a good clash of contrasting characters, so to speak. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I think the Jazz might pull this one out. But if we get that same Kawhi with the revamped Paul George was decent in the first round, but he wasn't superstar level Paul George. He was all-star, moderate level P. He wasn't playoff P that we've been looking for. If we get a refined playoff P, then I think Clippers should put them to 7, and it might be a 7-game type series. And they don't have to have the dilemma of dealing with Luka no more. So now that you don't have to deal with a big-ass point guard, Reggie Jackson and Rajon Rondo can now operate and play on the court. With Luka, they had to sit on the bench. It was too much for them. Plain and simple. So that's going to be a good series. You got Suns versus Nuggets. I don't know where that series is going. Every time I seem to count out the Nuggets, they win ball games. I need to stop sleeping on Joker. I know Joker is dominant. I know Joker is that dude. It's just when I see the Nuggets and I see they guard players gone, you feel me, missing Murray and Harris, MPJ getting buckets, I just wonder about the sustainability of that. And with this series, it's going to be a good test because they're going against another well-oiled machine, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and the Suns. So we'll see. My prediction, I think the Suns will take that in 6. I think they're just more refined. They have all of their pieces healthy at the right time. Whereas the Nuggets, I think they ride on fumes. It's only so much MPJ and Jokic can do for the Nuggets. They took the Blazers to 7. They barely got out of that motherfucker. So I got the Suns. Jazz, Clippers, like I said, I got it either way. Right now I'm favoring Jazz, but I wouldn't be surprised if Clippers with playoff P took them out. Hawks, Sixers, right now, man, I would say the Sixers maybe in 6, maybe 7, because I still see Joel Embiid being dominant and there being nothing they can do. And eventually, Doc Rivers is going to figure out not to have Ben Simmons in them moments, and you're going to put, what's the backup? The backup who be getting buckets, who I like. Shake Milton. You put Shake Milton in there, he'll hit some fucking free throws and some threes. So I think the Sixers still will win that series. Nets versus Bucks. That's already 1-0. James Harden pulled hamstring, if I'm not mistaken. Some people might think, oh, because Harden's out, then the Bucks should win, which makes some sense. But it's just not the ultimate logical appeal we could be using right now, because the truth of the matter is Brooklyn Nets are stacked without James Harden. Kyrie Irving has been balling, playing magnificent. Kevin Durant has been playing magnificent, barring maybe one game. I think game 4, he didn't have a great game. Blake Griffin can dunk. I know a lot of you niggas thought in Detroit, oh, he don't dunk no more. He ain't dunked in a year. This shit is about motivation. This shit is about inspiration. If you don't love what you do at your job, you mopping floors at your job, you don't love it, you're going to do a fucked up job at mopping floors. But if you love mopping floors at your job, you're going to be like that nigga on Coming to America, Prince Hakeem, smiling, happy, and then you're going to mop floors well. Same thing with Blake Griffin, same thing with Derrick Rose this year. When they were on the Pistons, they didn't want to mop floors. They didn't want that task. It was going nowhere fast. So Derrick Rose wasn't playing good, sitting out every game. Blake Griffin wasn't playing good, sitting out, not dunking. As soon as they switched themselves to an opportunity in which they like, you see their gameplay rise. So just like Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin is still Blake Griffin. He's still a decent talent, and he still makes them formidable and strong and top-heavy in the East. So in spite of losing Harden, I got Brooklyn. They're still more top-heavy than the Bucks. Antetokounmpo, nice, Drew, nice, Middleton, nice, but in a half-court set, which is what the playoffs is usually all about. You seeing that fast break shit come to a halt. In a half-court set, Bucks ain't got much. And this reverts back to the beginning of the video with the initial point. That Luka style of play, Harden and Houston style of play, LeBron and Cleveland in the beginning style of play. I think LeBron can be credited with starting this style of play. If I could segue a little bit, LeBron James came out of high school, always had the ball in his hands. So systemic basketball wasn't something he was ever privy to. But he's great. He's magnificent. One of one. Human freak of nature. So when the Cleveland Cavaliers got him, they said, fuck a system. We finna get that bitch to LeBron and make him work. Pick and roll, come make a play. This is when we started seeing the rise of this triple-double style of basketball come. With LeBron, he was the one teetering around it, and then Westbrook came and took it to a whole new level. But this is also the start of that play in which people can't discern it selfish, but it is selfish. People can't discern it because they see 10 assists. Nigga get 29, 11, and 13. And like, he wasn't selfish. He got 13 assists. But it's about holding the ball, the opportunity that you give other players to make plays for themselves. All these niggas is professionals. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a professional. You want him to sit at the corner and shoot a three, you're minimizing who Tim Hardaway Jr. is. So that goes for whoever was on James Harden's team in Houston. That goes for whoever was on LeBron's team in Cleveland in them 09, 08, 07 years. Mo Gibson, all them niggas reduced to shooting. And now that goes for the Bucks this year. Giannis Antetokounmpo make a play, wiggle, wiggle, pass, and all these niggas standing in the corner to hit a shot. There's a time limit on that style of play. That style of play might also coincide with the Mike D'Antoni style of play. 7 seconds or less, but when you don't got it, you take Steve Nash to run around pick and roll all day. Steve Nash was one of the pioneers of being ball dominant like that as well. You know what I mean? But with that being said, Brooklyn Nets, they run a different offense. They run an offense where they get all their pieces involved, their key pieces involved. They have spot-up shooting. Jeff Green's been out. If he comes back, problematic. And they just look like they're going to take this in 6. Bucks always give a fight. Giannis, that's what I like about Giannis. He's a fucking dog. Not aesthetically pleasing by no stretch, in my opinion. I don't like watching his gameplay, but I love watching his mind state manifest success in that field. That's incredible. He has a Mamba mentality to an extent. But then with that being said, you have my predictions for the second round. If we could do the top players, top 5 players of the first round, I got Dame Lillard 1. I'm sorry. Magnificence, excellence, brilliance. Game 1 was brilliant. Game 6 was brilliant. Game 3, he was brilliant the whole series, particularly game 1 and 6 for me. So I got him at the top. Right under him in performance, it was a tie. This is 2A, 2B between Luka and Kawhi. Luka was being crazy the whole series offensively, just going on a tear. And I thought at some point he was going to beat these niggas by himself. But Kawhi at the same time was going on his tear, being clutch in the moments that mattered most. And his game 6 is arguably, after Dame Lillard's performance, that performance to me is probably the best performance of this playoffs. Luka had another one in there, Trigger Trey, which is my 3rd or 4th, because we have 2A, 2B. 4th pick, Trigger Trey Young. Tore the Knicks apart. Disintegrated the Knicks. No matter who they put on them. They tried to put Frank Nikita, whatever his name is, on him. In the clutch, game 1, full court press, blew by him. Layup. Every game he was a problem, couldn't be guarded. Translates to the Hawks Sixers doing the same shit. So I had him at my 5 spot. 6 through 10, Joker, Embiid, Booker, Giannis, Kyrie. Joker, consistent as a rock. Embiid balling, but it was an easy series for Embiid, so I didn't notch him higher. Booker, steadfast, impressive, showing that he can play in this atmosphere. Being Devin Booker regular season translating, that's all I needed to see from him, is to be the same Devin Booker you were in that lesser important series. Giannis, rock solid. Kyrie been balling on the low. That's just how I see Kyrie. I'm doing my thing. As soon as you peep and tune in and watch, my stats ain't going to be crazy. I'm not going to be having wild numbers, but I'm going to get my 25 to 30. I'm going to have my clutch buckets. I'm going to be going to work. And he's been showing leadership skills on the bench, prompting his players on, handshakes. I just been liking that energy. That's my top 10. And then I have an I see you list. I seen you in the playoffs. Jason Tatum, I seen you. Even though that play-in is not the playoffs, I seen you with the 50-point performance. I seen you being you in that field of the inevitable plan of Brooklyn Nets. So I see you for your playoff performance. Derrick Rose, I see you for your playoff performance. Your first playoffs since the Timberwolves series, in which you got traded and Timberwolves faced the Rockets, and you played pretty well. You showed us that you can hop in that old bag. I always knew it. I've always known it. I still know it. But you've shown people who didn't know or who were confused that you still Derrick Rose. So I see you. And lastly, Michael Porter Jr. I see you for giving buckets on a low. There's again, you have to have the discernment, the eye, because they're not going to talk about him in the media. He's not going to be going crazy in the streets being talked about. So I see you niggas. And that wraps up essentially the breakdown. I have it as a cold ass first round. I hope the second round can live up to what the first round lived up to. But between Dame, Luka, Kawhi, Trigger Trey, KD, Kyrie, we got a lot of excitement. You feel me? And in Dame's world, there's a blend between entertainment and informing. Don't be too heavy on any. If you're going to be heavy on the informal side. But the most scholarly motherfucker needs to take a break and rest their mind and sometimes put themselves in a position to just relax and be entertained. So while we're going to have the informal side in Dame's world, let's always realize for the basketball heads or for the people privy to other things, we got to kick that shit for that too. That wraps it up. It's your boy Dame. Subscribe to Dame's World. We got the Cash App posted for those who want to support in that manner. I don't know how they do the badge thing. I'm new to this live chat shit. So maybe y'all could let me know, give a nigga badges or support a nigga comment. I don't know how that shit go. Let me know in Dame's World. 2021 playoffs though. Let me know your thoughts and your comments. Who gonna win the second round? Who gonna win the fucking whole shit? I got Brooklyn, barring them niggas giving KD COVID. Let me know your thoughts and your comments. I'm out this bitch.